Hello everyone and welcome to Chess Tour. Today I am going to show you the game between Magnus Carlsen versus Teimour Rajabov, and this is the game from the FTX Crypto Cup Semifinal 2021, and this is the day 2 round number 4, and Magnus Carlsen is leading with 1 point, so Teymur Rajabov is in must-win situation, or else Magnus Carlsen would be qualified to the finals against Wesley So. So Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces and Teimour Rajabov with the black pieces. Let's see what happened in the game. So Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces started with 1 e4 and Teimour Rajabov replied with b6, d4 and bishop b6, bishop b7, bishop to d3 and now e6. And this is the hippopotamus defense. So your knight to f3, d6, and the basic idea of the hippopotamus defense is that black usually keeps all his pieces till the 6th rank and ask white what he wants to do. And so as it was a rapid game, so it is a good approach for black side. So let's see what happened after d6. After d6, Magnus replied with castle, knight to d7, a4, trying to play a5 in the future, a6, rook e1, knight to f6, knight to d2, bishop to e7, knight to f1, castle, knight to g3. So white idea is to attack on the king side. So Magnus Carlsen is slowly placing his pieces on the king side so that he can attack on the king side. So after knight to g3, Teimour Rajabov played e5. He has to do something. So after e5, Magnus played c3, just keeping the center. Rook e8, bishop to d2, bishop to f8, and now b4. Magnus loves to gain space on the queen side and the king side, so he just pushes the pawn on the b4. So after b4, Teimour Rajabov played g6. The idea is to play bishop to g7 and keep the king very safe, because there could be some threats after knight to f5. So now by playing g6, the knight cannot come to f5. So after g6, queen to c1. The idea is to play bishop h6 and trade the bishop on f8. So now bishop to g7. Here first a5, asking what black wants to do. Does he want to take, does he want to push, or does he want to play something else? So black played b5, keeping the position very close. And now bishop to h6, asking whether Teimour Rajabov wants to trade the bishop or whether he wants to go back. So here Teimour Rajabov played bishop to h8. Here bishop h8 was not a good move by Teimour Rajabov, but as it was a rapid game, he could try, because as he was in a must-win situation, it's better to not trade the pieces very much. So because black only best piece in the game is the bishop on g7, because it eyes on the a until the a1 square. So that's why I played bishop to h8, or else the best move was bishop into h6, queen into h6, and play c5, open up the position. But he gone for, after bishop to h6, he played bishop to h8, and now d5, closing of the center, and the bishop on b7 is very bad now. So Teimour Rajabov played c5, trying to open up the center, and Magnus simply played h3. Magnus is playing very silent chess actually. So now Teimour Rajabov played c4, bishop to c2, knight to f8, queen to d2, bishop to c8, knight to h2, perhaps trying to play f4 in the future, bishop to g7. Now asking Magnus, does he want to trade the bishop? Magnus replied with no, by playing rook to f1. Now his serious threat is to play f4 in the future. That's why I played rook f1 back. So bishop into h6, queen into h6, and a king to h8. Perhaps the idea could be to play knight to d7 and rook to g8, and perhaps push the g5 pawn. So queen to d2 back, knight to d7, and now f4, trying to open up the position. Here e into f4, rook into f4, Knight to e5. This is the best square for the knight, the e5 square. So knight to f3, asking that does Teimour Rajabov wants to trade the knight. So you played knight to d7, supporting the e5 knight. Rook to f1, planning to capture the knight and put pressure on the f7 pawn. So Teimour Rajabov played knight into f3, rook into f3, and now knight to e5, attacking the rook on f3 as well as protecting the pawn on f7. So rook to f6, creating some pressure on the d6 pawn. And here Teimour Rajabov played bishop to f5. Bishop to f5. Here the idea of Teimour Rajabov is that if white takes the bishop, then he can capture the rook and he has an exchange plus. But what happened in the game is Magnus took the bishop. He still took the bishop on f5, because the idea is now Teimour Rajabov played queen into f6 and now Magnus played f into g6. Actually, by playing bishop to f5, this was a blunder by Teimour Rajabov, but still white is having a very nice position, very pleasant position, so he has to do something. But the best move in this position was to play queen to e7, just perhaps playing rook to a7, protecting the pawn on f7 and asking what white wants to do, and doing nothing, just sitting quietly. Okay, but in this position Teimour Rajabov was in a must-win situation, so he had to do something. That's why he played bishop to f5. So e into f5, queen into f6, and now f into g6. Here the queen cannot take the pawn because the bishop is protecting the pawn and the queen is also attacked by the rook. So the queen has to move by playing queen to h4, and on knight to f5, attacking the queen on h4, queen to h5, and now first g7 check. So fourth move for black is to play king to g8. Here knight into d6, capturing a pawn and also attacking the rook on e8, as well as keeping some pressure on the f7 pawn. So here rook to d8, attacking the knight. Knight to f5 back. Here f6, here pushing the pawn to d6 and making a nice square for the queen to come on d5 check. So here rook to a7, here queen to d5 check, rook to f7 force, and here bishop to d1. And in this position, after move number 39, Teimour Rajabov with the black pieces resigned the game, and Magnus Carlsen qualified into the finals against Wesley So. So let's see why Teimour Rajabov resigned in this position. First of all, White is having a very pleasant position. His pawn on g7 and pawn on the d6 is extremely strong, as well as the knight on f5. So the fourth move for black in this, one of the fourth move for black is in this position is to play queen g6, because the bishop was attacking the queen. So here white plays bishop to c2. Some discoveries can happen after playing knight to e7 and capture the queen on g6. So queen to h5 back, and now white simply pushes the pawn to d7. The idea is very simple of white. He wants to play queen to e6 and give a check, and it's force for black to take, and after pawn takes the queen, it's a checkmate. Let's take black plays knight to d3. Here queen to e6, the serious threat is to play queen to e8 check, and the rook have to take, and so black have to sacrifice the queen, because as the knight is protecting the g7 pawn. So the fourth move for black is to play queen into f5. If black plays something like some random stuff like knight to f5, knight to e5, simply protecting the f7 rook, then white simply plays queen to e8 check, rook into e8, and d into e8 with a queen, and rook f8 is the fourth move, g into f8, making two queens, and it's a beautiful checkmate by white. So it was a pleasant game. So after queen to e6, it's forced for black to play queen into f5, give up the queen, and after rook into f5, white is just a queen plus, and it's completely winning position for white. That's why after move number 39, bishop d1, Teymur Rajabov with the black pieces was ended the game, and Magnus Carlsen qualified into the finals against Wesley. So this was a very interesting game. I liked it. If you guys also like this game and you are new to my channel, then please subscribe to my channel and please give a like so that it motivates me to upload new videos. And thank you for watching, and bye bye.